Well, I had what I'm going to call a ta-da moment. Ta-da! I got it back together. Wasn't the easiest thing in the world to do. A second set of hands would certainly help. But that is not an option here. So we have to improvise and do it ourselves. Figure out how to make it a one-person job. So you can see the two parts are now together. That blue seam is it's a sealant called Permatex. It kind of creates a gasket, so the fluids inside there don't leak out, because that would defeat the whole purpose of fixing this stupid engine. I'm going to take a razor blade and clean this off, because this is the back of the engine, and this plate seals up to it. So if I have that, this stuff here, this sealant sticking out, might interfere with the seal, so I'm just going to shave that off for the time being, or before I put that on. This is the oil pump access, and I took that off just to see that everything was cool. I mean, the oil pump is in there. I don't know if it's working. Maybe that's why this engine, exploded in the first place. Again, this is the replacement engine, and that over there is the original engine that just blew itself apart. This one also blew itself apart, but in a different way. Now you can see the piston sticking out, and what I'm going to have to do now, which I've never done, but this is, again, the only way to get the engine back together is this piston sticking out, and I'm going to have to take the whole cylinder jug and head, which is very heavy. It's like cast something. I want to say it's cast iron, but I'm going to have to get this over the piston, and I have to have these rings. I need 2 more hands here, but I am going to have to compress these rings while simultaneously sticking that piston or that the head and the jug on top of that. So that's going to be challenging. Before I do that, though, I have to clean the same thing that I did with the seam, the other seam. I have to clean this off. I'm going to razor blade that and get all that debris off from the old gasket. And these are the 2 little rods that actually actuate the piston, or the little the valves on the inside. I don't even know what the hell I'm talking about. Like I said, I prefaced these videos with I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not a mechanic, so I'm just showing you what I'm doing, because there are not too many other videos out there on Gravely repair, Gravely/Kohler. There's a little bit of play in that. I don't know if it should be that way, but that's how it was when I opened it. That's how it is going to go back together. So this on this side, and I might be this time of the day, the sun is in like a really weird spot, so the lighting is even worse than it normally is. But this is the front of the engine. What goes on here is there's like this coil right here. That's all wrapped copper wire, and there are magnets that go on the flywheel. So the flywheel spins around and it generates electrical current and stuff to keep the engine going, but and to charge the battery. But the flywheel, that goes on, the electrical thing goes on first, and then the flywheel goes on top of that. And once I do that and get the back plate on and oil, this is like a circulatory system. The oil is going through all these little channels that have been cut, into the engine. This is cast aluminum, by the way, this engine. Everything else in it is like steel and iron. But so this circulatory system needs to be sealed with the back plate, and this and the front, and then I think I can get the rest of it together. I mean, the rest of it is just, it's very, very simple. There's like a little, it's comparatively, it's very simple. There's like a carburetor that I need to put on and some exhaust parts, but that's it. then it's back together. Just make sure that everything is cool, put some oil in it, start it up, and run, right? That's the idea, but let's see if it happens. I really hope it does, because, like I said, this has been a hell of a trying thing to do. Well, if you're not bored by now, you're certainly going to be by the end of these my little mini series. Oh God, the Gravely saga. So here we go. Latest update. I trimmed the. I'll use a little pointer. I trimmed this seam here as best as I could with a razor blade, so that when the back plate goes on this, ideally it will not leak in places where it is not supposed to. Right now I have the jug on the cylinder, and that was a feat. One person I am, and one set of hands. I wish I had been born with more, but I only have two. So getting that on, this weighs about 20 pounds. I mean, it's solid. And getting that on while trying to compress the springs, or the rings, I should say, was a challenge, but it's on there. It's waiting to go get pushed down the remaining 3 inches. But before I do that, I have to put sealant around the perimeter, just like I did with the engine down here, with the 2 halves of it. Only it needs to be cleaned of free of all oil and grease and all that stuff. And then I'm going to push it down onto these bolts that are part of the engine and bolt it up. And after that's done, and I'm going to come up here and I'm going to put the head on like so. And I'm going to have a pretty close to complete engine as soon as I put the rest of it on, which is down here, or up here, because this engine is lying on its side right now. So we're going to have the carburetor and all the fuel lines and all that happy stuff is going up there. So that's where it is now. Look for. Let's see how it goes. Okie doke, here we are again. We have a seam on there, and I am going to put the cylinder or the jug down, tighten it up, let it dry, and then torque it down. So this is the flywheel, one of the last pieces that I have to put back together. These magnets need to be affixed. They came off. I guess they were just glued on before, so I'm going to put some like metal adhesive on here. You know, they make up so many different things, different chemicals and stuff. I don't believe half of it, because most of them don't work. You know, they bill you for it. They charge it an arm and a leg, but they never work. But these need to be placed at reasonably spaced intervals around the inside of this thing. So when it goes back on the engine, and as this wheel spins, it generates an electrical current that perpetuates the engine, the running of the engine. What I used, or what I am using, is this Permatex steel weld, which may or may not work. But that's it, just yet another step in the process.